Excellent. Now let me share. All right. There we go. So from Zephaniah, sing aloud, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Rejoice and exult with all your heart, O daughter Jerusalem. The Lord has taken away the judgments against you. He has turned away your enemies. The King of Israel, the Lord, is in your midst. You shall fear no disaster no more. On that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, do not fear, O Zion. Do not let your hands grow weak. The Lord your God is in your midst, a warrior who gives victory. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will review you in his love. He will exalt over you with loud singing as on the day of festival. I will remove disaster from you so that you will not bear reproach for it. I will deal with all your oppressors at that time, and I will save the lame and gather the outcasts, and I will change their shame to praise and renown in all the earth. At that time, I will bring you home. At the time when I gather you, for I will make you renowned and praised among all the people of the earth. When I restore your fortunes before your eyes, says the Lord. And Zephaniah, a lot of his message was about where to find God. And we're going through the rest of Advent looking for where to find God. I wanted to share a story with you about finding God. It's a story of the wisdom of a 6-year-old and the wisdom of a very old lady. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who had been going to Sunday school for years. After hearing about God for so long, he decided it was time to go look for God himself. He thought the journey might be long, so he found an old gym bag that was his father's. He stocked up on root beer, granola bars, and Snackwells. And then he set off without telling his mother he was going. He was about 6 years old. Well, he hadn't gotten very far when he got tired, and he decided to rest for a while. There was a park right there, and he cut across the grass to a bench. There was only one other person in the park, an old woman who was sitting on the bench. He climbed up beside her. The two sat there and didn't say anything for the longest time. Then he turned to her and asked her if she was thirsty. She smiled at him and nodded. Out came the root beer. They shared and sat in silence. Then they ate the cookies and the granola bars, and they finished the root beer. They were together about an hour, and she didn't say anything at all, just smiled at him every once in a while. So he talked. He told her stories about his mom and dad, brothers and sisters, his first year at school, his pets, everything. Time passed, and he thought of his mother at home. He realized that she'd be furious with him for going off without telling her. So he decided he had better go home. He got down from the bench and picked up his empty bag. Then he finished everything. He said goodbye to the old woman and turned to go away. He took a few steps and stopped. He thought to himself, she has such a lovely smile. I want to see her again. So he turned around, ran up to her, put his arms around her, and gave her a big hug and a kiss. Her face broke into that magnificent smile. He smiled back and headed for home. His mother was waiting for him at the door, frantic. She grabbed hold of him and shook him. Where were you? I told you never to go off without telling me. Where have you been? I've been worried sick. He looked at her and smiled broadly. You didn't have to worry. I spent the afternoon in the park with God. Momentarily stunned, his mother was speechless. He continued thoughtfully, I never thought she'd be quite so old and thirsty. Meanwhile, the old woman had gotten up very slowly from her bench, picked up her cane, and headed home. Her son, about 45 years old, was waiting for her, frantic. Mother, he said, how many times do I have to tell you not to go off on your own without telling me? I've been looking for you everywhere, and was just about to call the paramedics and the police again. You can't just go wandering off. Where have you been? Her face was radiant. She smiled at him and said, "Oh, you needn't have worried. I spent the afternoon in the park with God." Her son was stunned and thought to himself, "Oh dear, she's much worse than before." But she continued rather thoughtfully, I didn't expect him to be so young and so talkative and to love root beer. And the message of Zephaniah and the message of the story is that we really spend a lot of time going searching for God when God is already in our midst. The old woman and the young boy are theologically rooted in the same thought. The great and holy one is in our midst. They have recognized the meaning of the incarnation that we are all waiting for. One God become flesh and dwelling among us. Have we? What are we expecting? What are we looking for? And what are we seeing? I thought we'd take a moment. If Linda wants to put it in the chat, I can read it also and just say, what are we looking for this Advent? Anybody looking for anything, no matter how simple, whether it's root beer or
Spending time with family, for sure.
spending time with family? And was it Linda that told me yesterday that there's actually going to be a time when all of the family will be under one roof at the same time?
Yeah, I think Pam did tell you that. Yep,
Pam
we'll
did tell me
have,
that. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's a lot of people under your roof.
it will be. There'll be a lot of people will fill up a church, I guess, too. I think they're coming to church with us.
That's wonderful. Lori, are you looking for anything from Advent?
I guess times of peace and calmness. Because it just seemed, you rush to get things done. So I'm always appreciative when, it's just, you don't have a ton of things on your plate and can sit and enjoy the tree and the carols and things like that.
Linda put patience and joy is what she's looking for. I was looking, I've been looking for moments like we had yesterday during the children's Christmas pageant with Linda. If you haven't seen it, it should be posted sometime today on the website. Moments where nobody knows whether to stand or sit and everybody's going up and down like that. And moments where the sheep freeze and don't want to come up and stand with the other kids. I don't know if you could see Evelyn from where you were, but little Evelyn was dressed as a lamb. And okay. So Linda, it is got pictures already from Christine. I don't know if you know that Linda is Christine's sister. And so I got a great picture of Evelyn just frozen. And then moments of figuring out it's all right because a little girl named Mackenzie went and got her. And the funny thing is I don't know where Mackenzie came from. I think she just appeared from our advertising. And I think we had about 3 or 4 kids that I didn't know. And I'm not sure. I have to check with Tracy to see if she knew them. And I found great peace in seeing a couple kids I'd never seen before. Because we wanted to do that instant pageant where anybody could feel at home. We were all ready too. If we didn't have enough kids, we were going to ask for volunteers and put a cow's head on Don Howell. And, I was going to be the dove or whatever, but we didn't need them. We had kids. So those are the moments I was looking for. I found those moments too at Tracy's St. Nicholas Day. And the fun thing about the St. Nicholas Day is because the anthem practice or the cantata practice had to be in the sanctuary, we had it in the chapel. We stacked up all the chairs and we turned the chapel into a multi-purpose room and had tables set up, and kids went from table to table doing activities and crafts and hearing stories in that sacred space. And I just sat there with a cup of coffee and watched them. And when somebody spilled apple juice, it was no big deal. It was a tile floor. And we were able to clean the room up again for Taizé worship and Blue Christmas. And so seeing the chapel used for Taizé worship, Blue Christmas, and a kids event, that was kind of my Advent. And I'm going to be inviting everyone this Sunday and maybe even part of the week if I send out any emails. If you haven't been to the chapel yet this Advent, go to the chapel. John has put a quilt that a dear friend of his made on the table, and we put the Edwards Advent wreath that was given in memory of Ann Edwards' parents. It's in there, and it looks really cool in there. And all the blue is picked up by John's quilt. And if you just go in there and sit down for 5 minutes, even with the sound of the children playing, it's wonderful. We're keeping it clean and set up. Anybody can go in from now until the week after Christmas. Just let themselves in and go in and sit. So, maybe like the young man, we can pack for the journey, but then once we get there, we can just sit down. We don't have to journey further than our own chapel. Linda doesn't have to journey further than her computer in Oklahoma. And Christine will be able to watch recorded and didn't have to rush to get on here. And we can all have those moments we're looking for. And we can remember Zephaniah's word. Joy is promised to all of us, not 24/7, but it's found by looking for God in the midst of where we are.
And I love all the different activities you've got us involved in for Advent, because too often for me, Advent can't end fast enough. It's just, it's all the commercialism and stuff, and you just can't wait till it's over. This year, I think I've really appreciated it more because of all the things you've offered.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I try to fill Advent with things to distract from the culture. I do appreciate the culture. I watch Christmas movies, not Hallmark, classic ones. I never admit to watching Hallmark movies. That'll be a dark secret. Bible study, I try to get as much out there because it's exactly what you said, Ron. Otherwise, you feel like the culture is coming down on you and has been trying to sell you something since Halloween. Lori, thank you again for your part yesterday and thanking everybody and putting another face up there.
And talking about freezing, it was like, I couldn't remember Tracy's name. I was trying to find it on my notes, and it's like, okay, yeah, I froze. But
Don't worry, the one person who would freeze at the microphone is Tracy. Tracy hates speaking into a microphone. She tries to avoid it at all costs, so she gets it. So thank you for that. And we have one more Bible study left. We have one more Tizay worship left. I think John has one more this week. And again, the chapel will be open and I'll be sending out that invitation to everybody to come sit in it. So, and Linda, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you got pictures of the pageant. If you want to see it in action, go to our website and look forward to when you travel and seeing you again. And I bid you all a happy third week of Advent. See you next Monday, hopefully.
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, all.